Hi, this is Nick Bayard with Lessons for Success and Happiness. And I've been doing a lot of videos recently on professional development topics, so I thought I would do one on just something fun. And something fun for me that I've been doing as a hobby over the last year is growing and cultivating orchids. And I never thought I would hear myself say that, but it's true. I've caught the bug. And I want to share with you some of the things that I've really enjoyed about having orchids around. And before I got into this, I thought that when you got to the store and you picked up an orchid, the flowers lasted for a while, they died, and then you were kind of done. The orchid was done. But that's really not the case. One of the coolest things about orchids is if you take care of them, the blooms will come back cycle after cycle, sometimes twice a year. And the flowers last a really long time. I've had orchids where the flowers have lasted about 2 months. And you know, if you buy cut flowers, they last maybe a week. But with orchids, they stay alive, and for 6 to 8 weeks you get something nice in your home. So I've got right here what's called a Phalaenopsis orchid, and it's the most common orchid you see in the store. It's the common name for it is the moth orchid, and this is the second bloom I've gotten this one to come up with, and I actually repotted this one. And orchids are epiphytes, meaning that in the wild they grow on other plants. They're not parasites, but they grow on rotting trees and things. And so they're not planted in traditional soil. They're planted for cultivation, they're planted in a mix of bark, moss, and a mineral called perlite. And this comes, you can get this pre-mixed at the store. It's not expensive at all. I like the brand Black Gold. And you can mix your own if you really turn into a fanatic. And so when I repotted this, I think it gave it a little bit of extra oomph to really come up with a nice, big, vibrant bloom. This is a bigger bloom than the one that it had when I picked it up at the store. So again, Phalaenopsis orchid. I've got another orchid here that is in a different stage of the bloom cycle. It's about ready to bloom. And this is the Lady Slipper orchid. It's a funny name. And I think that the plant from Little Shop of Horrors was in part inspired by lady orchids, but I'm not sure. Sorry, Lady Slipper is not lady orchids. So anyway, this is a Lady Slipper orchid, and it's in its second bloom, and pretty soon here it's going to pop out into this really cool kind of alien-esque flower. And one of the things I've noticed with this one is, as I repotted it, I noticed that it was at a point where I could actually pull this piece away from it, and it turns into its own separate plant. So I've got a different plant here, and this is going to come up with its own bloom, and I think the same thing is going to happen with these other separate leaf pairs. So I'm excited about this one. I'm actually not only getting distinct blooms throughout the year, but actually new plants, which is really cool. And I brought another one over here, and I broke the pot on the way over, which I tripped. But there's a plastic insert inside every orchid pot. So this is what it looked like before. And the reason for that is that orchids need to be soaked, their roots need to be soaked in water, and then they need to be drained completely. And you need to do this only about once a week. So it's pretty low maintenance operation. And so you soak the roots, take it out of the pot, let it drain the pot, and then put it back in. And every 4 months or so after the bloom finishes, these things called spikes come up. And this is the spike of this Phalaenopsis I showed you right here. And this one's just coming up. This is an Oncidium orchid. And you'll notice there's another spike about to pop out here as well. You can see that. And the cool thing about this one is it's got something called pseudobulbs. And these are little storage containers. So if I forget to water this one, it'll be okay for a little bit longer. And this one is actually going to come up, and red sort of firework-shaped flowers are going to pop off of this spike. And this is a really kind of a cool one. And if I keep doing an orchid series, I'll show you how this one looks when it blooms. So I found orchids to be a lot of fun, low maintenance, and you get a lot for it. You get a lot of sort of flowering in your house. It's not expensive. It's a hobby that if you get a few orchids, you can just continually have flowers blooming in your house. And as you can tell, I've turned into an orchid nerd over the last year, And I guess the point of this video is to encourage you to think about becoming an orchid nerd, or finding that thing, whether it's a plant or something else, that you can enjoy as a hobby on the side. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you for the next one.